Yes, yes, you are tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. I'll tell you what, I needed that time off. Last week was a real stressful week, not going to lie with y'all, between the Christmas holiday and making sure everything was squared away there and then having that unscheduled doc visit so quickly. That was kind of interesting. And it was so quick that I got another one today, but I'm doing all right. So I'm hanging in there doing good. And I sure am excited to be here today. If you want to be a part of the program, the number is 601-879-0002. The text line is 601-879-5060. And we are streaming on Rumble, and we are streaming on X, and we are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the radio signal, that's all right. Just tune into the stream. We appreciate that. If you're not on X, you're going to want to be, because the stuff that is coming out on X, if you listen to the last hour of the Clay Edwards show where I sat in, we were pulling up clips from X, and they're just doing an amazing job of reporting the news that isn't being reported by the mainstream media. A bunch of, in my opinion, treasonous insurrectionists who are out there trying to destroy our republic, not help build it up. The mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We're here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. There's a proverb that says, whoever confronts a scoffer gets himself abused, which is true. You go and confront a fool, all it's going to do is bring animosity back at yourself. And he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Yep. So if you go after somebody who is beyond just being a fool, but actually violent, you're going to end up having more people come after you. And that's why I think there are so many Americans out there who are just afraid to go and take action in their communities. And we're going to talk about the Somali stuff. We're going to talk about what's happening over in New York and Minnesota, Washington, D.C. We'll get to all that. But, it was Christmas, and I hope you all had a very Merry Christmas. Some people overseas say it's Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Christmas. I'm okay with that. We had such a great time on Christmas, and then we went to go see the movie David last week. It was great. If you haven't gone to see the movie yet, you totally should. It's really great. The movie is completely acceptable for kids. There's nothing inappropriate about it, but the previews before the movie David, that was kind of interesting, and it caught my eye a little bit. But the movie was great, and I just wanted to start off with kind of like a happy moment. We had a great great Merry Christmas meal, pierogies, the traditional Polish soup that we have. It was just delicious, and it was good. We had some, and we always do like a different meat. Some years it's a turkey, some years it's a ham, some years it's a steak. This year we actually did scallops, and it was actually delicious. It was really good. Sweet Bee knows how to cook, and she's an awesome cook. Also, a big thing for me over Christmas is soccer. Now, overseas, it's called football because you actually kick the ball, unlike American football, where it's more handing off and doing other stuff. But that's okay. That's not neither here nor there. But as many of you know, and you'll understand where I'm going with this, so just follow me for a minute. The football that's played overseas over the Christmas period is played on Boxing Day, which is the day after Christmas, and they have congested schedule where a team is playing every 2 to 3 days. And it's very uncommon to play soccer matches like that. And so I was just trying to get caught up on the world famous Arsenal on top of the Premier League right now. And I follow this guy. His name is Turkish LDN. He has several very big football channels, whether it's the Big Six, Turkish LDN, or the Loose Cannons podcast. So I was tuning in to hear about how the Arsenal were playing. Now, some about Turkish is he is a Muslim, and his guests there are some British guys. And this is just where it all started. And when I heard this, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm got to use this for the show. So 3, 2, 1, here we go.
So sorry, before we get into the football chat, you mentioned you wished everybody a Merry Christmas. I'd like to extend that, and to those who don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Holidays. is now the PC way of addressing it?
No, we took that political correctness crap and threw it right in the trash can where it belongs. That's why we have so many problems that we have today, is because it all started with being politically correct. Then from politically correct, it went into microaggressions. And then from microaggressions, it went into whatever it turned into, this full-blown woke mind virus that is just wiping out the humanity's ability to think critically. It really is. And we don't want to be politically correct. We want to be able to say what we need to say. If it's a little bit rough around the edges, it's a little bit rough around the edges. I don't necessarily believe you have to curse to make a point, although gratuitously placed F-bomb every once in a while will get everybody's attention. But I was just sitting here thinking, going, no, this is why London is having all these problems. And this just opened up an entire myriad of things. And the thing is this is what's happening in London. It's now going to start happening in New York. It's already happening in Minnesota and in Michigan. And if we don't get these examples under control, it'll happen right here. But let's continue, because this is going to just get incredible.
Guys, it's only where I live. I mean, I don't Christmas, right?
He basically said he doesn't give a rat's rear end about Christmas.
I never have since I was like 5. But is it just me, or is there just no Christmas vibe anywhere at all? I went into Brixton yesterday to do my shopping.
Brixton is a suburb inside of London. It's like a little area there, but there's no Christmas vibe at all. They have had a Muslim mayor in London since 2016, and every year they've taken more of the Christmas spirit and the meaning of Christmas and ripped it out of London's culture. They've completely ripped it out of London's culture.
Get some bits and pieces, and the streets are not like empty. The streets are busy, but there's nothing on the poles. There's no what do you call it, tinsel. There's no
Yep, that's what happens when you go ahead and you put somebody in office who doesn't believe in the values that you grew up with. And just to be fair, you know, these guys are basically saying they like the Christmas with the Santa Claus and the candy canes. They don't like the Christmas with the cross and the understanding of Jesus being born. They don't want none of that. But they want people out in the shops shopping. They want people out there spending money. They want to drive the economy. They want to have these kinds of festivals and stuff that makes money for the city. But anything proclaiming God, oh no, you can't be having any of that. Nope, 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 nope.
There's the shops like are doing the bare minimum. I'm like, yo, like I don't care. But for those that like Christmas, I just can't believe. Maybe just my era, but I can't believe how dead, how non-Christmassy it feels. It's Christmas Eve.
And here's the other thing. Even though this guy doesn't believe in Christmas and what Christmas is supposed to be all about, he still benefits from the Christmas spirit, from celebrating that holiday, goodwill and cheer and goodwill for all mankind. They want that, but they don't want to go do the hard part. When you actually think about it, it's not difficult to accept Christ. It's not. Christianity is exclusively inclusive. Anybody can be there, but it takes a humbling of your heart and soul. And these guys are starting to figure it out. They're like, what's going on? And I'm sitting here listening to this going, my gosh, my gosh. I'm sitting here trying to listen to the Arsenal, and I'm getting a full-on sermon about how Christmas is being ripped out of the culture of London. But let's continue.
I think the meaning of Christmas now, if you put obviously the link to religion aside, but generally the meaning.
No, Turkish. That's not how it works, my brother. As you infamously told Tobes on the Big Six, that's not how it works, my brother. This is a cooking. This is a cooking of the highest proportions. You can take away the shopping and the tinsel and the candy canes and the tree and all that stuff. Christmas is about to the world a king was born. That's what we're celebrating. And if you go back and look at how Christmas really started, this started when Coca-Cola put Santa Claus drinking a Coke. And we all said, "Oh, it's about Saint Nicholas. It's about Saint Nicholas." That's just the nose of the camel putting his nose in the tent and getting in the tent. Well, now you just don't have one camel in the tent. You've got a whole herd of camel in the tent, and they're pooping and peeing all over the place. And you guys are now all sitting there going, "Well, how come it's changed so much? What's wrong?" This is exactly like you taking your date to the prom, and then as soon as you get to the prom, you're like, "Thanks for getting me in the door. Put the name here. I'm gonna go dance with this girl over here." You can do that, but it doesn't end well, fam. It doesn't end well, fam. That's why it's called Christmas. It's really should be called Christmas, but it's Christmas. So you can't take the religious connotation out of it. That's like taking the religious connotation out of Eid or Hanukkah. You just celebrate those things without the meaning behind it, then it's just nothing but a false pagan god. It's just a pagan holiday. And I don't believe Christmas is a pagan holiday at all. I think we should celebrate it. Just like in if I had only had to pick one holiday to celebrate, it wouldn't be Christmas. I'm telling you that right now. But these guys are just complete shock over there because all of a sudden they're now realizing that their goodwill to all mankind, their leftist leanings are now actually impacting them because now they're starting to see the city change. They're starting to see their culture change. And I want to back this up a little bit right here. And we're going to continue to roll down this road.
Now, if you put obviously the link to religion aside, but generally the meaning, I think the world is working against the meaning at this moment. That's why
You're darn right it's working against that meaning, Turkish. You're darn tootin'. It's working because what God wants to happen is not what humans want to happen. Not my will, but your will, right? Yep.
it does feel like, it isn't the most Christmassy of Christmases, in terms of giving, breaking bread, being together, loving, laughing.
Where does the term breaking bread come from? Can somebody breaking bread? What Last Supper maybe? I know I'm a little bit preachy, but when I hear this, when I'm thinking I'm going to be talking Arsenal, and I'm going to be going in hearing about how horrible my team is doing, even though we're winning everything, but we're playing like total garbage, and I start hearing stuff like this. Look, we got to talk about it. We're up against our first commercial break of the hour. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. And this segment is brought to you by my friend Bruce Bennett over there at iGear Optical. You know, it's coming up on the new year. You're going to need a new set of glasses. Why not go see Bruce Bennett over at iGear Optical, your local place to go get a pair of glasses? I've watched him service his customers the way you want to be treated. It's not one of these big box stores where you go in and they just give you the minimal treatment. He actually takes the time to just sit you through, have a wide variety of different frames for you to choose from at all different price points. And they're located at 2630 Highway 80 in Pearl. They're open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can find them online at igearoptical.com. Brother Bruce, appreciate your sponsorship, and we're going to get back into this. And we're just listening to this guy who's talking. You know, he is a Muslim, but he is sitting there and he's just having a really hard time figuring this out.
But the world the way it is, it's hard to live, love, laugh. You know, when you're looking around, you're opening your TV, and it's nothing but
nothing but a bunch of raging people screaming "Free Palestine," wearing all sorts of stuff that they don't even know what they're doing. The best ones for me is the LGBTQ community who are supporting the pro-Palestinian movement, who don't understand that those are the first people they're going to go after if they assume power. And you don't have to believe my word for it. You can go look it up, where they push lesbians and homosexuals off the roofs of buildings in Iran, in Saudi Arabia. They did it. It's not like doesn't happen. We just don't hear about it, and the left-wing news media won't tell you about it.
No, images that you can't get out of your head for years. Forget Christmas, you know, look at the world. I think that's kind of, you know, maybe I've gone too deep into it, but.
Well, I don't think you went too deep to it, Turkish. I think that you got something put on your heart that's eating away at you, and you know it, and you just can't sit there to figure out how to say it in a way that doesn't indict the Muslim faith. It just is what it is, the Islamic faith. You don't see you all over the United States. You're not seeing crazy people mob up and just start raging, or shutting down Times Square. At least, hey, Times Square will be open for New Year's Eve, unlike Paris, where they're shutting it down because they're afraid.
It's hard to really enjoy, you know, holiday seasons like this when, you know, you look across the world and across this country even, and the division and the problems and, you know, where everything's coming from.
What does that say about the country of England, where the mayor of London comes out and condemns a celebration of Christmas with a bunch of Christians rolling up on, not to the biggest square in London, but a good sized square. They said 1,500 people, but it was more like 100,000. And they're sitting there singing Christmas carols. And the mayor of London actually came out and said that it was the alt-right and not to go to this thing. And the worst part about it is I watched it and I thought I saved it, but I didn't. And now, no matter how I search for London mayor speaks out against Christmas carols, whether mention his name, Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, no matter how I try to search for it, I can't find it. It drives me stinking nuts. It drives me nuts. You can find like a statement basically where he wrote some stuff out there, but what's really great about that too, and I don't have this clipped up, but he's actually out there singing Christmas carols where proclaiming that Jesus is the newborn king. And then he realizes what he's saying, and he's like, "Oh, it is really a funny video. Get a chance to watch it, you should."
And it's not you know, I always, I don't know, like, this comes full circle every year. Life is a beautiful thing, but the world is, you know, I live.
He just basically said it's really messed up
by that sentence, those sentences or whatever you call it. But hopefully we'll see it there next year, and that, you know, that isn't to be the case. But Merry Christmas, people. Obviously, it is holiday season. Obviously, it's a time to be together, you know, live, love, laugh. But yeah.
So sorry.
And that was Turkish LDN. You can look him up on YouTube on the Loose Cannons podcast. And he's a big Arsenal fan. Love Turkish. I've been watching him since about 2015, 2016. Been a while, man. You've had a heck of a ride. And I never thought I'd have Turkish LDN clipping Turkish LDN on my radio show, but hey, other things happen. And when things like this happen, it's an opportunity to kind of spread some common sense out there. And again, we're not having these problems right now in Mississippi, but you know where they are having those problems? In Minnesota, in Michigan, in New York, and it's coming here. It is, if we don't stop it. But the other thing that I'm really excited for is that we do have some senators who are doing some good stuff. And this is coming from Brit Voice over in London. And this is a 6-minute video that I just got this clip from it, and I want you to listen to it really closely here.
City's diverse population, where over 40% of residents identify with religions other than Christianity, and nearly half were born abroad or have immigrant parents.
So think about that. They were predominantly an 80% Christian city in London. And over the course of 10 years, they now are at 40% other than Christian. And half of them are either aliens, legally or illegally, in London, or they're the children of aliens, legal or illegal, in London. And you wonder why London is going so fast. And then you think about what Joe Biden did to this country by opening up our borders and by causing all of this craziness that we're having to deal with now. And never mind all the good stuff we're doing. The left doesn't focus on that. We have one bad moment with ICE or with anything going on. All of a sudden now, it's government overreach. It's government overreach. Never mind that they kicked us off social media. Clay was talking about, we have to have repercussions for everything that they did. Yeah, but we need to follow the law when we do that. And Pam Bondi, she's truly on the hot seat, because for me, I do not understand how we do not have more indictments out there. I don't understand how we don't have all these people getting cooked for all of this fraud. I don't understand how we have people in Congress who are not representing, or who take an oath to the Constitution, who are not doing anything to support the Constitution. Where am I wrong on this? I'm so grateful and thankful that I can go look at other places around the United States and around the globe and point this out. We are so tuned into this, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Andrew Gosper Show. We are so tuned into this. We understand it. We get it. And we're getting to the point to where, we have to take action here locally to protect our state, whether that be through new legislation, partnering more with ICE to get more people who are here illegally out of the state and out of the country. We have to go on the offensive here. I'm not calling for violence. And of course, people will always try to make that inference like, oh, what are you really saying? I'm saying that we need to follow the laws that we have on the books. There's a legislator out there who often talks about how we need to go ahead and prosecute and enforce the laws we already have without making a bunch of new ones. And I think it would be a great idea to take some of these laws that have been on the books for so long that are no longer applicable and remove them. We have to do that. Because if we don't, we are going to end up going the way of France, going the way of England in the United States, and then Mississippi will go the way of Minnesota and go the way of Michigan and go the way of New York. And it's not even that these people have a majority of the population. They just have a very active minority who go out there and vote. And meanwhile, and they have the liberal women. Doesn't matter what race you want, just liberal women are that way. And we have a story on that too. Hopefully I get to it in the next hour. Liberal women are crashing out between the ages of 39 and 43, saying that they wish they would have had families instead of going into corporate America. You think? God gave you an incredible ability to bring life into this world. You're the only ones who can do it. And you just treat it like it's not a big deal. That somehow being a stay-at-home mom is not an important job. And American husbands, we got to look at that scripture too, and how we're supposed to treat our wives. It says we're supposed to lay down our lives for our wives. It really does. And I tell you what, I try to honor the sweet bee every chance I get. But when, and this is going to wrap up the football/Christmas discussion. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. We're going to take our next break right here on the Andrew Gosser Show. We will be right back. Yeah, we are back here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. You know, in the top of the hour here, which we were coming back, I was talking about the farm, or maybe it was during when we were talking with Clay. We're talking about how good the farm is doing, how the sheep are doing well, how our chickens and turkeys are doing well, our dogs are doing well. Just the farm is doing well. And we have about a 4-acre pond on our farm. And from time to time, there is a nuisance animal that gets in there. A couple years back, we had to call out the wildlife department because we had a gator in there, and those gators were threatening my livestock. And as great as my livestock guardian dogs are, gators are going to win that fight. So we followed the procedures, and the gator went away, and we're good to go. But there are other types of nuisance animals out there that farmers have a legal right to get rid of. We do. But there are certain things that you have to go through to get rid of them. And, you know, I I've never had to get rid of a Canadian goose, but I've seen the damage they've done when I used to play golf a lot. They'd get on the golf course and they would just tear it up. Then you have to walk through all that mess. This is coming from Jackson Jambalaya, our man Kingfish. Slaughtering and dumping. The Yazoo County Sheriff's Office issued the following statement and pictures. And ladies and gentlemen, these pictures are heartbreaking. 207 wild Canadian geese were slaughtered. And then they were just dumped into a trash bin. 2 of them, actually. They filled up 2 trash bins. To kill this amount of geese and just throw them away in the pitchings like this is not only unlawful, but it's unethical. We have your information, and we will, and an off-duty deputy was able to record you dumping. We will be in contact with you very soon. And, you know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I have a positive outlook on life, but whenever I've had a problem, I've been able to work with the authorities quickly to take care of any nuisances that I've had. And the thing is no one's gonna sit here and go against you and say you can't get rid of these animals, but you're gonna be able to do something. But there are food shelters over there that can convert this all into food if we gotta get rid of them. And for me personally, I mean, it's heartbreaking to see all those animals lined up there and just pitched like that. It's, it's really horrible. But I always try to keep stuff out here on the local, and that was definitely a good story about it. Everybody says, Andy, you're so negative. You're so negative about everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I have great news, positive news. Global warming. For the first time in years, Antarctica shows a massive annual ice gain exceeding 100 billion tons. And this is coming from the blog Advice for Life. And it goes in here, for the first time in decades, Antarctica has delivered a climate story that caught almost everyone off guard. Isn't that funny? Scientists are shocked. Scientists are surprised. After years of consistent ice loss, new research published by the Science China Earth Sciences reports that the Arctic ice sheet gained mass. Man, somebody was convert this to English. I should have done a better job of that. But between 2021 and 2023, the shift is remarkable both because of its scale and because of the pace at which it occurred. The same continent that had been losing an average of 142 billions of tons of ice per year in the 2010s instead gained about 108 billions. So what we're saying here, scientists don't know what the heck's going on. And when we think about time, I'll never forget my science teacher from my freshman year in high school said, "You've got to think geologically, the long term." And he asked the question, "What's long term?" And someone said 16 years. And they're like, "How old are you?" 16 years. He goes, "Well, what if is 1,000 years a long time?" And he's like, "Oh, that's forever." And he's like, "Well, what about 100,000 years, or 1,000,000 years, or 1 billion years?" Let's not forget just 300 years ago, or actually now more like 400 years ago, we were in an ice age, the mini ice age. It got cold. The earth cooled down, the ice built up. That's what happens. You know, you breathe, you grow old, you die. The glaciers that moved down across the continental United States and Russia back in the day, they're melting off. That's just what happens as the earth ages. And this story goes on and on and on. Honestly, it's probably over 3,000 words. But this is what scientists, again, this is what they think. The central driver of the ice gain was a surge in snowfall. Warmer air can hold more moisture, and when the moisture reaches the frigid environment of Antarctica, it often falls as snow rather than rain. The Guardian explained that this mechanism clearly by noting the extreme snowfall events are an expected effect of climate change. So no matter what, no matter whether it's good news because the ice shelf is getting bigger or it's bad news because the ice shelf is getting smaller, it's climate change. First, it was global cooling back in the 70s. Then it was global warming in the 80s and 90s. Then it was climate change. Then it was climate crisis. It's like no matter what happens, freedom loses. Humanity loses. And it's just not a correct way to do anything like that. The Chinese researchers behind the study also stated that the patterns of Antarctic ice loss is a critical climate warning signal. Their findings underline how crucial it is to understand the triggers behind short bursts of growth because these events can help scientists refine projections and identify potential turning points. However, the short duration of the snowfall surge and NASA's observation that participation returned to normal levels by 2025 make it clear that the underlying concerns remain. You could have 200 years of under-level performing snow, and it'd be nothing more than a hiccup, geologically speaking. But we do not seem, because we live in an information age where things just keep going faster and faster and faster, we're all attached to our anxiety devices where we have to find out the latest and greatest information. We can't sit there and actually take the time to enjoy what we have. I love that report from 1982, CBS and Dan Rather. Don't need to play it today, but they are talking about how Florida was going to be basically underwater by 2096, was it? Or 2002, whatever it was. It's going to be underwater. And the real big thing about this is no one wants to pollute the environment. Farmers don't want it. We want to be able to raise our livestock or grow our crops. There's nobody out there who wants to hurt the environment. They're just people who want to regulate you and how you live so that they can have more control and authority, because that's human nature. I thought that story was pretty awesome. Another local story. Jackson Water continues to pursue water rate increase despite the city's objection. And the truth is that does Jackson just need to completely be vacated and bulldozed and start all over? Kind of like what happened in Chicago back in the day with the Chicago fire, where it burned the city to the ground and it had to start all over again. Thing is that these water systems have been neglected for so long, it's going to take a darn near a complete rebuild. And who does the city of Jackson expect to pay for it? There are so many problems there, and the sad situation is that the people who voted those people into office are going to be the ones who have to help pay their way out of it. And now you have people who actually know what the heck they're doing and how to run a water treatment plant, how to understand how this all works, are providing sound advice, and they're not following it. Clearly, they don't want to do that. This is the other one that I want to talk about. Biden's Solar for All program promised millions in energy savings for Mississippi families. Trump killed it. Let's just make it straight right now. That solar farming stuff, it does generate a lot of energy, but it's not at the point yet where you can sit there and save millions and millions and millions. We can spend $7 billion on a federal program called Solar for All, and it might give us $1 billion in energy savings. So do we have a net loss of $6 billion, but the jobs created, but the infrastructure created? People don't realize that, but once those solar panels go bad, that's a hazardous waste. And frankly, I don't want Mississippi farmland being covered over by a bunch of solar panels. I'd much rather have it being used for solar or for farming purposes. Losing the Solar for All program was a gut punch for Howard, who saw it as a catalyst for improving conditions in Yazoo City and changing the career trajectory for some of its residents. It was truly devastating, Howard told the Mississippi Free Press on September 24th. We saw this as a way to make a life-changing difference to folks in the Mississippi Delta. There is other technology out there that has zero emissions that is actually coming online this year, the first one, which is pretty exciting because they've only been able to really work on it after Trump took office. But it's a 25 megawatt nuclear reactor that you can roll around on a semi-truck that uses a isotope that everybody's worried about the radiation being given off. It doesn't give it off. It's literally buried into the plant itself. And those are going to be available here. Not only that, you can localize grids using that technology. But I'm going on and on and on. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, we are back here in the Andrew Gosser Show. We had that video at the top of the hour, went into the second segment. I actually had a whole another clip that I wanted to play because this was posted right underneath all the stuff that was going on between the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and the Christian festival where all the Christians got together to sing Christmas carols, and they called it an alt-right gathering, and to avoid it. At that Christmas carol event, there was not one arrest. There was no violence. Like I said, I think there were 100,000 people there. It wasn't as big as some of the protests on the other side where they had literally 500,000 people, but it was huge. It was big. And people are saying, "Oh, Islam is the religion of peace." Well, just listen to this. This is an imam preaching right here.
This is totally wrong. Anybody who celebrate Christmas Day, you cook for the sake of Christmas, you wear shoe for the sake of Christmas, you make it here for the sake of Christmas, you waka for the sake of Christmas, you are going to hell. Whosoever denies Allah, you going to hell. No place for you but hell.
And it goes on from there, but I'm going to chop it right there because I don't need to talk about the different surahs and hadiths that go into that. But my goodness, and that's out there for me, and that's Master Malik. And you know what? I'm not going to give it a heart, but I'll repost it for those of you who are on X and want to follow me there. In the next hour, we are going to really start drilling down on what's happening in Minnesota. It's one of those things that when I look at how the blessings of 2025 have been in my life, and 2025 has been a hard year for most of us. Even some of my friends who are a year or two older than me, 10 years older than me, have said they can't remember a year like 2025 with so much loss and devastation. It's been pretty brutal for all of us. But for me, it's allowed me to kind of look at the personal losses that I've had in my life, the setbacks that I've had, and just to reflect on how good it's really been for me, and it has. I can't be so arrogant, and boastful, and my ego full of pride that I can't say that bad things haven't happened. But at the same time, I can see where my life is being steered and directed. And with us having on that Minnesota GOP chairwoman, with us doing the different things that we're talking and reporting around London, Paris, France, different movements that are happening, we are having such an educated and well-informed audience that as we move forward into 2026, the things that are going to start popping up should surprise none of us. It should surprise none of us. And we're going to continue to do that. Tomorrow, we're going to have Blake Bartlam on the show. It's going to be great because he's going to be running the board. I think he knows it. But if not, he does now. You're listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. We will be right back.
So guys, this is absolutely mind-blowing. So I was watching the most recent video by Nick Shirley exposing these daycare centers. Now, they're going daycare to daycare, and the next one that they go to is called Sweet Angel Childcare. This is where they show up to. And this is the business right here. Sweet Angel Childcare in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, listen to where this phone number goes to when you call this child care center. Just wait for it.
Thank you for contacting the Office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Our office is located at 130 State Capitol at 75 Reverend.
Yes, you are tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And we are streaming on Rumble. And we are streaming on X. And we are streaming on YouTube. And we are streaming at the mothership, WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up our 50,000 watt radio signal, you can always catch us online. And we appreciate that. If you haven't followed me on X, I'd appreciate it if you did so. My name is just Andrew Gosser, ANDREW, GASSER. I'd appreciate that. And if you want to be part of the program today, I know it's the holidays, slow season, maybe still have a couple days off of work. The number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show, it's standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And I've just been working through this, and some things just hit me harder than others. And whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproofs a wicked man incurs injury. And look, we have to make sure that when we're going and we're talking about this stuff, you've got to call the people out, but there's a way to do it. And I don't necessarily want to be going in there with the flamethrowers. I know that there's a lot of you out there who want to go do that. And if that's your style of doing it, that's great. Take the information that I put out here on the radio show and use it as you want to do that. But I'm telling you, we've got to have a way to where we go ahead and start attacking this stuff that doesn't necessarily start throwing up problems everywhere else for other people. We have to talk about what's going on with Nick Shirley. If you are not following Nick Shirley, and his handle on X is at NICKSHIRLEYY. He has released a video where he has uncovered over $110 million of fraud in one day of work up there. $110 million in fraud. You know, it's absolutely unbelievable. And he went up there, and there's a 42-minute video, which I've retweeted. And if you have the time after the Lindsey Beckham show, I recommend everybody go ahead and listen to it. It will make your blood boil. Do you know that our continuing resolution bills that are going to be passed out of the U.S. Senate and House coming up at the end of this year, in another day or two, are going to continue funding all of this welfare to these Somalis? Where are we as a nation? Where are we as a people? Forget Minnesota, forget Washington, D.C. Where are we as a people here in Mississippi? I could totally stand behind Roger Wicker and Cindy Hyde-Smith if they voted no for the CR because of funding all this illegal funding for all these welfare programs going to blue states. Clay brought up the fact that, you know, we could rebuild Jackson with $20 billion, but it still would have no soul. And he's right to that. I agree. But that doesn't mean that we continue to fund our enemies who are here walking amongst us and we don't even know. You know, it kind of reminds me of The Matrix. When that movie came out, everybody thought it was incredible. And the plot theory behind it was really incredible. But Remember Neo walking through the crowd and everybody's just plugged into their cell phones looking down, and we thought it was silly at the time, but they saw what was coming. And all of a sudden he's walking and there's that lady in the red dress who walks by, and the next thing you know, he turns around and it's Agent Smith with a gun pointed at his head. Agents are everywhere, man. In the more I realize so many people don't study, not just let alone their own faith, but study other faiths. But when you start studying stuff, you understand how they create people. And it doesn't say that Christians are all perfect. No, far from it. And there are numerous examples out there of it, but it's nothing like what some of these other religions are doing. And when we have people like Nick Shirley who are courageous enough to step into the lion's den, to start talking to people and trying to find answers, it goes ahead and it starts opening up and encouraging other people to do the same thing. I did have the clip that Clay had, but I don't want to play that. Go back and listen to Clay. But I have this clip, and this is coming from a guy named Jake. And I'm not sure if Jake lives in Minnesota or not, but I want to give him a shout out. It's just at JakeCan72, JAKECAN 72 on X. And we're going to listen to this clip.
So guys, this is absolutely mind-blowing. So I was watching the most recent video by Nick Shirley exposing these daycare centers. Now, they're going daycare to daycare, and the next one that they go to is called Sweet Angel Childcare. This is where they show up to. And this is the business right here. Sweet Angel Childcare in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, listen to where this phone number goes to when you call this child care center. Just wait for it.
Thank you for contacting the Office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Our office is located at 130 State Capitol at 75 Reverend.
That can't be real. So I actually freeze framed it, and I've got that number right here, and we're going to do the same thing. Let's call this daycare center to see if we can get an appointment to bring one of our kids in there.
Thank you for contacting the Office of Governor Tim Walz and Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Our office is located at 130 State Capitol at 70.
Ladies and gentlemen, they used the governor's line for the business phone number at that daycare center. And everybody's trying to community note it, saying it was a mystery. No. This is the number that they put down on the application. The fraud is so rampant. And this governor, this is like the king is not wearing any clothes. And the people don't want to tell him that he's not wearing any clothes. You know, there used to be a bunch of talk show radio hosts back in the 90s and early 2000s that said liberalism was a mind virus. Just give it time and it's going to take over everything. And you look at it now. We actually called that number on the phone that was listed for that daycare, and it goes to the governor's office. Could you imagine if this guy would have been the vice president of the United States of America? Could you imagine what would happen if Kamala Harris was the president of the United States of America? All this fraud would just be redlined straight into the bloodstream. Mainlined, just pumping billions and trillions. What is it going to take for Americans to wake up? what's it going to take to have people start going out there and actually saying, you know what, we need to hold our elected officials accountable. Now, I'm not so arrogant and boastful to think that, we can start at the very top and work our way completely down. But we, as conservatives and as patriotic Americans, we do need to start paying attention to what's going on locally, because it never used to be this crazy and never used to be this bad. I'm just sitting here looking for this other story that is really big, and this is coming from the New York Post, ladies and gentlemen. The New York Post says, Ilian hold on one second here, they're trying to go ahead and put an ad over, well, can't read the headline, so there you go. Ilian Omar's husband has a $30 million firm which quietly scrubs the names from website as squad member faces mounting questions about the sudden wealth amid Minnesota welfare fraud. Embattled Representative Ilhan Omar's husband, never mind that they don't say that she's a Democrat, but when they talk to, well, actually, they do call her a Democrat, but not in the headline. They wait a couple sentences to get into it. As scrutiny grows over the family's skyrocketing wealth, the Post has learned Omar's wealth went from nearly broke, being worth up to nearly $30 million in just 1 year, as a massive up to $9 billion fraud scheme. It's going to be over $9 billion. I think it's at $18 billion now. Fraud scheme involving the Somali community in her district unfolded right under her nose in the North Star State. Close to 90 people have been charged, including at least 3 with direct ties to the lefty squad member, though she has not been accused of any wrongdoing. And Omar's married to this guy named Tim Mayet, and they're sitting there at the DNC, and Elon's holding up a USA sign. And look, these people, we've got to understand that our kids who were born here to patriotic parents have been co-opted and taught to hate America in our public school system. Is it too late to get it back? I don't know. And this just goes into more and more in-depth detail about how all of these different government assistant programs that are being used to supposedly provide daycare, healthcare, and other needs to Somali immigrants and immigrants of Minnesota are basically funneling this money back to Ilhan Omar. So even if she does get booted from the country, is she going to be able to take that 30 million with her as she goes out and walks out the door? I don't think she should be. She should be banned. I think she should be kicked out of Congress, and she should be prosecuted for embezzling government money. And again, this is where maybe Clay and I disagree a little bit. I want to use the judicial system as it was implemented by our founding fathers back in the day to go after these rascals. And ultimately, who this does fall back on, and I know I'll take some grief for this, but it ultimately falls back not on Pam Bondi, but on Trump. Could you imagine if Matt Gaetz would have been the attorney general instead of this lady? Heads would have rolled. Heads would have rolled. You think about it, and it's just, my goodness gracious. She has set up an entire fraudulent scheme. Fraud tourism. People are flying in from Pennsylvania into Minnesota to commit fraud because it's so easy to do in Minnesota. I wonder if this would have happened in Minnesota if Shad White would have been the auditor up there. I don't know. But you are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show. Nope, don't fear the Reaper. If he comes, he comes, but I don't fear him at all. So line, and I'm grateful for him. But what I'm here to say is that, you know, I am a man of the people, and some of you all didn't get a chance to hear Clay and I talking about this video of the Learning Center, and this is just another example of the fraud found by this guy Nick, and just listen to this.
Blatant this fraud is here at this daycare.
Don't open up!
So this is Quality Learning Center. I meant to say Quality Learning Center.
Don't open
They
up!
said
Now, what you are going to hear, this is him with this video, and he's got his microphone on there, and there is a Karen out there saying, "Don't open up, don't open up." Now, this guy is not dressed like an ICE agent in any way. He's a white kid with some, I'm just going to be truthful with you, brother. Those sunglasses, not good, not good. And a hoodie on, a gray hoodie, no weapons.
they spelt learning wrong.
Don't open up!
How do you have ICE here, ma'am? I'm literally a YouTuber.
Don't open up!
Ma'am, what do you think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
Don't open up! We have
This is your typical 63-year-old white liberal Karen with the eyeglasses like Harry Carey, and she's sitting there walking around. Don't open up. Don't open up.
ice!
And what do you think about this place being licensed for 99 children
Don't open up!
and getting $4 million
Don't
over
open
the
up! It's ice!
$4 million in the last 2 years?
Go away!
What do you think about that? Are you in
Go
favor?
away!
Are you in favor of that?
Go away!
You know
You're
what it-
not welcome here.
Are you-
Shame on you.
Are you in favor of $1.9
Shame
million
on you. It's
going
ice.
illegally,
Don't open up!
fraudulently to this business that has Quality Learning Center but can't even spell learning right on the door?
Don't open up!
Ma'am, we are not ICE.
I don't care who you are. You don't belong here.
I belong here just like
This Karen has now made herself the hall monitor right in front of this business front, because that's what it is. It's a business front that is perpetrating to be a child care center, getting a ridiculous amount of money.
you belong here.
Don't open up! It's ice!
You do realize that there's supposed to be 99 children in here at this building, but there's no one here.
Now she looks
This is a child
dumbfounded.
daycare
So
center.
this is 99 children. Paid $1.9 million this year in CCAP funding.
She's like, "Oh,
you know where the
snap."
children are? Were they kidnapped? They run away? Where are the children? This is state of Minnesota. Right here.
And who are you?
My name's Nick Shirley, ma'am.
And who are you with?
Nick Shirley. Nick Shirley on YouTube.
Yeah, so who are you with here?
Oh, he's just been doing some research investigating the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm with Nick Shirley.
This lady, she's just calling us ICE. We're just trying to put law and order back in the streets of the United States. Get rid of all the fraud. Have you ever seen children at that daycare center right there?
Where?
Yeah, it's right there. It says the child. You've never seen daycare.
I don't see anybody in there.
We're gonna educate.
And that's just another one of the videos out there, ladies and gentlemen. The information is out there if you want to go out and actually look for it. And you might be saying to yourself, "Andrew, I don't have time to go do all this stuff." I realize that. I think everybody has more stuff to do in a day that can actually be done. Lion King. But there is more to do out there. We can get ourselves involved with more stuff. And we don't necessarily think that this is a big deal because this is happening in a different state than the great state of Mississippi. And that was something, too, now that I'm talking about this, and I got a quick minute. Unknown texter never texted me before over the weekend or during the week, last week, after I went off the air, was talking about how he doesn't like Mississippi, how he doesn't think it's a great state. Well, you're more than welcome to text me back, unknown texter, but tell me, what is so bad about Mississippi, and would you rather live in Mississippi or Minnesota? I'm telling you right now, I'll take Mississippi every day of the week and 3 times on Sunday. Don't have to worry about the snow. Don't have nearly the type of crime and immigration problems that we have, and we don't have the level of fraud, at least known to this point, that is going on there in Minnesota. And again, what does this show? This shows that an independent citizen, journalist, is doing more to uncover the fraud than ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MS Now / BS Always could ever do. I mean, if I was a news journalist organization, I'd be like sending my journalists, I call them troops because everybody's a troop, but I'd be sending my troops out there right now saying, hey, you guys need to go find this right now. Bring the TV truck with the camera, put the antenna up, call in the PD if you feel unsafe, but this needs to be reported on. And Nick Shirley, that's like real journalism. That's like when Drudge used to be the actual reporter and you actually do something decent. But Drudge isn't worth the paper that he's printed on anymore. We are at a true inflection point. And when I see stories like this breaking, and here's the thing, with Brother Nick out there, there's room for you to do this in Mississippi. There's room for you. I mean, James O'Keefe and OMG / Project Veritas. There is so much room to do this stuff. It's just that even though all these kids are being brought up, told they're special, that they're the best and they're the greatest, they're really not special. They're really not the best. They're really not the greatest. But they got the participation trophy back in the day. And they're made to feel like they're important. And they're made to feel like they're actually going to do something that actually impacts humanity and society. It's kind of like everybody who goes into the military. Yeah, that's cool. And it does take a special person to do that. I'm not saying that. But if you want to go do quote unquote special ops, that's a whole different kettle of worms. That's a whole different pot of fish. And the truth of the matter is not everybody can do that. So when we find special people like Nick, like James, we absolutely have to make sure that they know that we appreciate their work and that they're doing great stuff. And that we're going down that path. But that leads us into a whole another subject, which Clay and I talked about for a little bit, but I got a chance now to expound upon it, is how Generation Z is being found that they're difficult to work with, that they can't take criticism, that they don't understand that when they get reproofed from a friend, that's a good thing, and that a kiss from your enemy is a bad thing. And I deal with it. I love my daughter, and we have to sit down and we have to talk about this. Because if we don't start heading this off right now, and I'm talking to every mother, every father out there, grandparents, aunties, uncles, foster parents, step parents, you have to sit there and have these hard conversations where they have to understand that there is real challenges to life. Let's go ahead and take a phone call here. Hey, go ahead. You're on the air.
My man, Andrew, how was your Christmas?
Dude, it was so awesome, man. We went out and we were hanging out with the sheep on Christmas Day. Everybody got extra food, special meal. It was awesome.
Sweet, sweet. I was just thinking in your previous comments, where is Gomer Pyle when you need him? If you remember, citizens arrest, citizens arrest.
that lady, that's all that Karen needed to do.
That's right, citizens arrest. But yeah, I was listening to this situation with the Somalis and all this. So are these people actually being deported, or are they just, is the money gone? Are they going to get it back, or what's the circumstance?
It is my understanding that the ones that were actually charged and found guilty or pled guilty are already out of the country, and that money's been repossessed. But it's also my understanding, and we would have to talk to Roger Wicker and Cindy Hyde-Smith on this, is that in the upcoming extension to the appropriations, that we're going to continue funding Minnesota and all of these illegal programs that are going on right now.
Is that right?
Yep, that's my understanding. And if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But you know what? I haven't been proven wrong yet on any of these things when I do my research. And right now, Minnesota's getting all this money. And here's the worst thing about this, brother, is that Minnesota is just the tip of the iceberg. The fraud that's happening in Chicago, or I'm sorry, in Illinois, New York, and California is even bigger than what's happening in Minnesota.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. But good gracious alive.
And,
Well, you know, somebody has to not worry about reelection. It's kind of like the earlier thing you had about Trump not worrying about his popularity because he's doing what has to be done. Some of these elected representatives, Wicker is a prime example. Hey, don't worry about being reelected. Take care of what you got to get done. But, you know, unfortunately, nobody likes truth. Nobody likes right and wrong. Nobody likes the fact that somebody's either safe or they're out, because somebody has to make the call. And the guy that stands for any type of truth is always the one that takes the arrows. Everybody loves to boo the official or boo the umpire because they have the final say as to whether something's right or wrong. And nobody has the wherewithal to stand for right or wrong, to get it right. You know what the average age of a high school football official is in the state of Mississippi?
no idea.
Average 63.
Oh, my goodness.
That means there's some 83-year-old somewhere officiating football because these young people don't want to stand and take any type of criticism for making the right decision.
Yep. And
not to mention their lack of social skills combined. So
lack of social. Well, brother, I'd love to talk, but I'm up against the break, my man.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for the call. I really appreciate it. Our callers are awesome. They're absolutely great. But I got to take this commercial break. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. You are back at the Andrew Gosser Show, and we are moving and grooving, working through these stories. This is a story that was sent in by a texter today. Uh, I know that I have the name, but the way my app works, it doesn't tell me who it is. So, for whatever reason, whoever you are, thankful you get the credit for this. $112 billion crime surge shutters 60 Kroger stores, 9,000 jobs gone by Silius Redman. And this is coming from Newsbreak. America's largest supermarket chain is absorbing a staggering hit from a wave of retail crime and rising costs, with a reported $112 billion in losses that are tied to theft and shrink, now colliding with a plan to close 60 stores and cut 9,000 jobs. Executives and analysis point to a surge in retail theft and organized shoplifting as a central driver to the current crisis, which reported losses tied to shrink and crime climbing to $112 billion. And they're saying that this is hitting the urban community the hardest. We know that Jackson is pretty much a food desert. We got the mayor, he's going to have a task force meeting on the problem why grocery stores don't want to open in Jackson. Well, maybe you know what? I'm going to send this to the mayor just so he understands what he's up against. I'm good like that. But I'm just here to tell y'all that this does not get any better. There's nowhere for us to run. There's nowhere to hide yourself from what is happening. You just can't move further and further out into the country. The Sweet Bee and I took a drive out to Picayune the other day. That was really sweet. And you know, that those people out there, they are so far insulated from it, they don't necessarily see it, but I'm sure they can feel it. And think about this. What if Kroger just closed 3 stores around the Madison, Rankin County, Hines County area? Just 3. Or what if they closed 5? What would that do to the food desert then? Could you grow your own food? Would you be okay if you couldn't go to the Kroger to pick up some beef and some vegetables? I'll tell you what, the Sweet Bee makes this salad. I don't know where she comes up with this, but it's called depression salad, and basically it's like pickling a bunch of different vegetables, and it is incredible. And she puts stuff in there I don't even like. I don't know how many of you people actually like beets, but beets are like beets and Brussels sprouts are like the bane of my existence. Love mushrooms, love everything else. I can eat the Sweet Bee's Brussels sprouts, but if I'd rather eat other stuff. But it's almost like a really acidic coleslaw / kimchi type of thing. And I'm grateful because we got like 16 or 17 bottles of that. And I'm not saying I want to eat that 3 times a day, every day. But if you don't know how to start growing your own vegetables in 2026, you need to have that in your plan. You absolutely need to have that in your plan where you can grow those vegetables and be able to do that, because if they're closing 60 stores and 9,000 from 60 store closures to 9,000 jobs gone, the headline numbers are stark. Kroger plans to close 60,000 stores and cut 9,000 jobs as it recalibrates its footprint in the face of theft and inflation. Internal and external investor-facing commentary has tied these moves to a broader effort to stabilize finances after losing $112.1 billion in fiscal year 2025. Wow. When I look at those figures, I see a company choosing to sacrifice geographic reach and local presence in order to protect the balance sheet and reassure markets that it can still generate reliable returns. You know what? You can't sit there and be a business operator and say, I'm going to open this business knowing that I'm going to lose money every year. That's how you go out of business. And it goes back to what type of nation we are. What type of culture do we have? Do we have a culture that glorifies and gets people excited over doing bad things, or are we a nation of laws where we punish the bad guys? And here's the thing, you know, someone goes ahead and robs a Kroger store and they get caught, they're going to jail. Someone goes ahead and does, embezzles $1.3 million in a daycare fraud scheme, but they're an illegal or illegal immigrant, they're not going to get charged. They're not going to get prosecuted. The lawmakers who put these deals into places, they're never going to see the light of day. Now, we could be proven wrong, and in 3 months, all of a sudden, the DOJ finally says, okay, but we've turned the gears enough. It's time to go. It's almost like it's too little, too late. There is that grace period. And I'm the first one to admit it, Brother Junk. I said, give it time, let it all, but there has to be results. There has to be results. And I mean, 9,000 jobs in an economy, that's a lot of scratch, man. You figure the average job of there probably somewhere around $15 to $16 an hour. That's a lot of revenue for a lot of families. Perhaps it's a part-time job that dad works when he's not doing his other job, or mom works when dad's not working, so that they can make the ends meet, and now they're going to lose those jobs. My goodness. Let's see here. What else do we got? We talked about Miss Ilhan Omar. This is a sad story, and I feel it's really, really pertinent here to Mississippi because we love our firearms and we love to go shooting. I've got a place I can shoot on my property where it's got a berm set up, and it's set up to where the ricochets don't go everywhere, and I don't have to worry about anything. But maybe you heard about this story. This is coming from ABC News in Oklahoma. Oklahoma man doing target practice in his backyard accused of fatally shooting a woman blocks away. An Oklahoma man who was doing target practice in his backyard on Christmas is believed to have shot and killed an elderly woman a few blocks from his home, authorities said. Cody Wayne Adams, 33, has been charged with first-degree manslaughter in connection with the deadly shooting, court files show. It's absolutely horrible. He was using a Glock 45 caliber handgun that he got for Christmas and heard him shooting about 20 rounds Thursday afternoon, according to the affidavit. And this is why it's so important not to go out there and play cowboy. Don't be the good guy. If you see something going down, it's better for you to get away from the situation and let people who are trained to do that kind of stuff go ahead and take care of that. Now, obviously, if you're the only one there, then that's just what it's going to be. But, I talked to my kids about it, my sons and my daughter. Hey, you're not just shooting that deer. What's behind that deer? Are there any known people back there? Are there any known structures back there? We talk about field of view and field of fire all the time. We go through hunter safety course. We go through all the different licenses and classes that you need to go ahead to be able to go ahead and use a firearm. I know each state is different, but I'm telling you that this is a tragic story. Ended up shooting a grandma in the right shoulder area. She was holding in her left shoulder a child, a baby. Doesn't say how much it is, but the charging document alleges that he caused the woman's death by engaging in conduct with a firearm that created a situation of unreasonable risk and probability of death or great bodily harm to another person and demonstrated a conscious disregard for the safety of others. I'll tell you what, when I go out shooting, I'm either at Two Gun Tactical Range, which is wonderful date night for you spouses out there. Men always be looking to go ahead and treat your significant other to a night out shooting. That's always good. Or if I'm shooting in my backyard, the sheep are at the under end of the field. There's no one behind my berm, and I'm shooting into the target, then into the ground. You absolutely have to shoot that way. And as things get crazier and crazier, there's going to be a lot more people who are going to want to exercise and use their Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. But judicious marksmanship is always appreciated. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We're going to take our last break. We'll be right back. Yeah, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. And you know what? Time flies when you're having fun. Last story I want to talk about, it's a scary story, but it's got a good ending. Texas dad tracks down kidnapped daughter's phone, half-naked man arrested. A father in Porter, Texas used a parental control feature on his 15-year-old daughter's cell phone to locate her after she went missing on Christmas Day. The young girl who disappeared while walking her dog was located by the father's father inside a pickup truck in a secluded area, along with a suspected kidnapper who used a knife to force the girl into his vehicle. Dude, that is so, so scary. And everybody's like, yeah, thank goodness for that cell phone. And you know, that's a good deal. Montgomery County Sheriff's deputies located the vehicle and arrested the 23-year-old suspect, Giovanni Rosales Espinoza, without incident. According to authorities, Rosales Espinoza is now facing charges of aggravated kidnapping and indecency with a child. And you know, again, is this guy going to get a slap on the wrist? Or is he, I mean, I don't know. I'm a man. I've never thought about doing anything like that, but is there true rehabilitation there? I mean, I know some of you fellas who are listening to me are girl dads. What would you do in a situation like that if you ended up tracking down your daughter and able to save her, but find a half-naked 23-year-old man in there? Would you just walk away like that guy did? Maybe better thoughts came to him and he was like, man, I'm just going to get out of here. Got to do that. I'll tell you what, that guy, I'm glad the daughter was saved and that, you know, it turned out to be all right. But what a terrible situation. That poor young girl's never going to want to go out on a walk. She was with her dog too. I don't know what kind of dog it was. But my goodness, the world is plumb gone crazy. And it's just going to pick up and get crazier and crazier. But the good thing is that she was found, number one. You know, don't think for a minute that the government can't track you on your cell phone. It's listening to every word you say. It's going into the great gonculator in the sky. They're figuring it all out. And they're going to know what you're doing. In this case, it turned out to be pretty good. But if you would have told me when I was growing up in high school that they would have these devices that just could track you no matter where you go and you'll willingly take them everywhere, I would have told you you're crazy. But we're not. Tomorrow, we're going to have Blake Bartlam in the studio giving us his Gen Z opinion on stuff. And I'm going to ask him about this new story that came out where millennials and Gen Xers are firing Gen Zers because they're not taking work seriously. That ought to be a great show. Everyone, I hope you had a very Merry Christmas. We're going to wish you a Happy New Year tomorrow. We're going to celebrate New Year's, unlike they in Paris where they don't do that at all anymore. They just shut it down, close it down to the mob. We'll talk to you later. Be blessed, everybody.